Okay, we'll now open the November regular school board meeting. 1.1, roll call vote. Let the record reflect everyone is here tonight. 1.2, recognitions of visitors and guests. We have a large crowd again. Welcome everybody and everybody watching us. 1.3, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, 1.4, correspondence and recognition. We've had no public participation requests tonight. 1.42, recognition of students, staff, and community, and Joel will take care of that at the end again. Moving on, 2.0, approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the items on the consent and main agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Ann, seconded by Matt. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. 3.0, approval of minutes. That would be the October school board meeting and then the committee meeting minutes. Do I have a motion to accept minutes?
So moved.
Motion by Lori,
Second.
seconded by Ann. All those in favor of the approval of minutes, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. 4.0, consent agenda. You guys all looked at what was under there, I would imagine. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda items?
So moved.
Eric, motion by Eric,
Second.
seconded by Aaron. All those in favor of the consent agenda items, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. 5.0, main agenda 5.1, monthly financial overview. Carmen.
You guys have in front of you the revenues and expenditure guideline report for the period ending October 31st, 2025. We're 4 months into this fiscal year. Our revenues are running at 28% compared to last year at 28.78%. So we're very consistent and on track with our revenues coming in from the various state and local revenues. Our expenditures also are on track compared to last year. Our budgeted amount percentage is 25.32 compared to 26.24 last year. And as I've mentioned in the past, this is based on our budget, which we will be revising after the first of the year once we have kind of all of our expenditures and revenues. The forecast of those, we will present an updated budget to you.
Okay, questions for Carmen? Okay. 5.2, presentation of the 2024-25 audit report by Helen Hufker.
Hello, thank you to the administration and staff for allowing us to, and the board for allowing us to do this presentation. I think you all have the booklet in front of you. If you turn to the 5th page inside there, that has the audit opinion on it. I'm not going to read the entire opinion, but we did issue an unmodified, clean report. There were no exceptions or modifications that were discovered during the audit requiring any modified reporting. And then also any school that spends over $750,000 in federal source grants and revenues is subject to higher scrutiny or the single audit requirements. And so our opinion language does cover that in this same report. The front part of the report is a management discussion and analysis and the government-wide or full accrual presentation. We'll not spend time reviewing that tonight. We'll look at the fund presentations as we'll discuss here. So if you turn with me to page 26. Page 26 is the statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balance. And this is just for the governmental funds. And this does summarize the strong, solid position of the district. We'll stay on page 26, but I will a couple times mention some other pages. That's just to give you a reference as to where to find the detail for each of these funds. So starting in the first column, the general fund, revenues were just over $67,072,000, a 1.4% over the budget. The detail for this, as I mentioned, is on page 70 through 77. The expenditures for the general fund were just over $59,624,000, which is a 5% decrease or under budget. The district had budgeted an increase in this fund balance of $3,497,000. The fund balance actually increased by slightly more than $7,545,000. Increases to the budgeted revenue came from a few different areas. First off, interest rates were higher, so interest income was up. Second, the current levy was higher than the budget. Due to student enrollment being up, there was a slight dip in the numbers used last year. And then general education aid was also up to a variety of reasons, one of them being the state changed the calculation partway through the year, and there was also an increase in the number of students included in the formula. The increase from budgeted expenses was due somewhat to staffing changes and increase in rates of pay. The decreases to budgeted expenses came to fewer projects being done, such as a roofing project that was carried over to 2026. Between the overall increase from projected revenue and decrease to projected expenses, the fund balance did increase overall, the $7,545,000. In the second column is food service. Revenues were just over $3,300,000, and expenses were just over $3,489,000, bringing the actual fund balance down by $189,000 to just over $966,000. The budgeted decrease for the fund was actually $342,000. Excuse me, food service detail is found on page 78. The food service revenue was steady with the prior year and with the planned budget. The largest change or increase in expenditure from the prior year was in salaries. And while salary costs were the largest increase, the fund did remain under actual budgeted or what you expected costs. In the third column is community service. Revenues were just over $1,982,000. Expenditures were just over $2,050,000. This decreased the fund balance by $67,000. The detail again for this can be found on page 79 through 80. Both revenues and expenses were decreased from the prior year. The variance, though, from budgeted or expected amounts was a decrease in expenditures from both the early childhood family education area and the adult education programs. Into the fourth column, the capital projects fund. Revenues were just over $8,000, and there were no expenditures for the year. This increased the fund balance to just over $200,000. The detail for this fund can be found on page 81. Revenues were from interest income, and this is retainage from the Learning Center project that has some work to be done to get that thing completed. Debt service, the fifth column, revenues were just over $4,137,000, and expenses were just over $4,754,000. This increase reflects income from budgeted from levies. The debt service shows a decrease to the fund balance of over $617,000, and the intent of the board had been a budget decrease of $798,000. All of this information, all of those numbers at the bottom, your fund balances, if you go back to page 24, on page 24, you'll see all of the fund balances. Overall, total government fund balances increased $6,679,000. That would be the total governmental, the far right column. This was primarily driven by an increase in the general fund, the very first column, with an increase just over $7,545,000. Your total government funds, again, this is back to the first column. The other ones are recaps of the individual funds. So then in your general fund, your total is $59,621. That's total all funds, sorry. And then you'll see in the general fund, you've got various different areas. You've got the non-spendable, $331,000. You've got assigned for fund balances, just over $21 million. You've got unassigned of $15,791,000. So your total fund balance at the end of the year for fiscal year end June 30th, 2025 in the general fund was $47,947,000. All of that is not just available. So when we look at the general fund, there are just over 41 weeks, and there were 31 weeks of operation in their last year. Again, that's the grand total. As far as what you have in your unassigned, that went from 13 weeks of operations at the end of June 30th, 2025, and the prior year that was 12 weeks of operations in that unassigned fund balance. Overall, again, the district has a strong position going forth into the current year that you're in. Any questions from anyone?
What falls under the general education aid? Because that's a big number, Ellen. Like, I was looking at page 70, it's like 40-some million dollars. So what would all fall under that? Maybe Ryan knows that.
It's mostly your general ed aid, for the most part.
From the state.
And state, yeah, interstate aids.
Okay. Does anybody have any other questions? Okay. Thanks, Ellen. Okay, moving on then, 5.3, we need to approve the 2024-25 audit report. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Second.
Motion by Matt, seconded by Lori. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor of the 24-25 audit report, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. 5.4, presentation of the Comprehensive Achievement in Civic Readiness Annual Report by Sarah Schumann, Curriculum Instruction and Assessment Coordinator, and NCIC Achievement and Integration Annual Report by Gladys, sorry, I'm not good with names, NCIC Achievement and Integration Coordinator.
Okay, good evening. Thanks for the introduction. I work with secondary staff in grades 6 through 12 with the middle school, high school, and learning center. I'm going to become sharing the Comprehensive Achievement and Civic Readiness Annual Report. If you've been around for a while, this was formerly known as World's Best Workforce. So it's the similar goals. There are 5 of them. The first one is all students ready for school. Number 2 is to close the achievement gap between student groups. Number 3, all students ready for career and college. Number 4, all students graduate. And number 5, all students prepared to be lifelong learners. again, if you've been around and remember World's Best Workforce, we've removed the read well by third grade, and that is reported within our local literacy plan on an annual basis. So we'll look at the results from school year 24-25. First, all students ready for school. With this goal, we're looking at students who participated within the district preschool program, and we're looking to replicate the 2019 results of their kindergarten readiness, and to get 90% of students, or 90% as measured on the local kindergarten entry profile tool. That tool looks at social skills, how well they follow directions, and it's a tool completed by teachers in terms of kind of assessing students to see if they're ready for kindergarten. Last spring, 69 of the 121 scored 52 or higher. Keep in mind, this is not they have to pass this to go to kindergarten. All these students did go to kindergarten. It's more of an informational tool for kindergarten teachers. Number 2 is to close the achievement gap between student groups. And again, we wanted to kind of replicate that 60% achievement on the MCA for both reading and math to match some historical data within our white subgroup population. So this shows our achievement gap or achievement levels in the reading MCA. That top line shows the Minnesota state average. So you can see in 2025, it was 49.6% across the state. And within District 518, we were at a 32.6%. And then I've broken it down by subgroups. The light green boxes represent an increase from last year. So you can see we had an increase in the subgroups of Asian, special education, and free and reduced lunches. I wanted to show the gap. So that black line at the top is the state average and proficiency level among the white subgroup category, and the red line is within our District 518. And down at the bottom, that green line is the achievement gap within those subgroups of students of color, and then that purple one is within the district. So you can't see it on the chart, it got cut off, but in 2025, that gap at the state level was 23.1%, and within the district, that gap is 24.4% between those groups. When we take a look at math, again, the setup is the same. That first line is the state average of all students who took the MCA, and the state average was 45.2%. The next line shows what we have within the district, and it was 27.2%, which was an increase over 2024. And again, you can see the increases designated in green among multiple subgroups there. And again, I wanted to show that proficiency gap. So the black line again is the state average among the white student subgroup, and the red is within the district. Green is the state average among all the subgroups of students of color, and the purple is within the district. And again, you can't see it on the chart, but within the state, that proficiency gap last year or last spring was 26 percentage points, and within District 518, it was 27.1%. When we take a look at goal number 3, it's all students ready for career and college. And the metrics we've decided to use within the district is the rate of attendance. So this is showing at both the high school and the learning center, students that had attendance of at least 90% of the time. And then all students complete the next two, the career goals in written format and the career assessment within our programming at the high school and learning center within their careers class. When we look at graduation rates, our graduation rate is delayed. We don't have the spring 2025 yet. That'll be released this coming year. But in 2024, you can see that our district rate increased to 76.2%, and then I've got it delineated by the high school and the learning center. And then the state also measures 7-year rates. I'm hoping this chart is a little better than what I've used in the past, but you can see that the cohort for 2021, their 4-year graduation rate was 74.5%. And then if you follow diagonally, in 2024, their 7-year rate was 78.4%. So you can see an increase of students who continued their education past that 4 years to get their diploma. And so I'll continue to track it that way, and if you followed the diagonal, that's how you read that chart. Lastly, just some strategies to meet the report or the annual goals that we set. Last spring, we finished our Science of Reading training for K-5, EL, and SPED teachers across the district. We still have a couple cohorts that are going through, but that was a 2-year endeavor, and so a huge kudos for them and a lot of learning that happened in terms of early literacy. Because of that training, we also started 2 new foundational programs. So at Prairie, we started UFly, and at the intermediate school, we started functional phonics and morphology. Both of them are focused in on those early literacy skills that students are missing. It's very systematic, explicit, and I just talked to Melissa today, and we're seeing some really great results. Next, we have targeted services, both the EDGE and the summer school programming, and then we partner with Compass, which is an organization out of our regional center that also partners with the state, and they're working with us on school improvement efforts at the learning center, high school, and the district level. So we've got lots of strategies in place to improve in these areas. And then that's our advisory committee. I'll open it up to any questions if you guys have them.
Sarah, what you've presented, what would you say are some of the things that you are most proud of for this district? And also, where are there areas where we'd like to see some improvements?
Yeah, I think one of the things we meet as, I meet monthly with a regional team, and I think one of the things that we're kind of seeing really highly for our area is our literacy. We started the Science of Reading training before the state mandated it. Most teachers in our area are still going through it, and we've completed that with 90-some% of our K-5 staff. That learning in and of itself, it just taught us how to better teach reading. I think I'm also very proud of the shift that we're making, K-5 in early literacy. We're really tracking and using that data on a weekly basis to plan for instruction. And we're partnering with the co-op as well as the University of Minnesota to walk us through how to implement. And we really invested in some professional learning for staff this year to better use those programs. So those would be the things that I'm most proud of. I think as we look across the district, I mean, our scores still need some improvement. We're not gonna, research says you need 3 to 5 years of implementation before you start to see a lot of changes. So we just need more time and time for staff to collaborate, time for learning, to really make this new learning effective.
So what are you doing for the math then, Sarah? Because you're changing your reading curriculum, so what are we doing for like the math end of it?
That's a great question. So the state came out with new standards, and so we're currently going through review processes to pick a new curriculum for math. The math research really looks at having a high level of rigor, which looks at conceptual understanding, proficiency, fluency, as well as real-world application. So think of it as, I love the analogy of knowing math well enough as your hometown. So in your hometown, if there's a street blocked, I can still get from point A to point B because I know a workaround. And so that's how well we want kids to have a deep level of math and that conceptual understanding. So we're doing some PD within our math teams. However, we can't put everything out there at once. We're still working on our reading curriculum, and so really the timing of everything so that staff aren't overwhelmed and we can't do everything new at once. So we're doing some training, and more of that will come over the next couple years.
Is that math curriculum then K-8 or?
It'll be K-12. Yep. Yep. I will note that there will be a new reading MCA this spring. And so when that happens, it's kind of like a reset. And so we won't compare that to the old results because the tests are different. So when I present next year, or when we look at this data, it'll be brand new for reading to kind of see where we are and then how to move forward. And then the math will come in a couple more years after that.
I mean, what would our goals be to get closer to the state average? I mean, would we get 35%, 38%?
Well, obviously, we want it to be much, much higher, right? And so I think really having, using the instructional practices that we know that are best, using the data to drive our instruction, making sure that all kids have access to high quality teachers. Research would show that the best indicator of student success is the teacher in that classroom, the knowledge that they have and the belief that they can make a difference. So that's, investing in teachers is, and their professional learning is a really great strategy. I didn't put it up here, but I could have. We've invested a lot of time and money into professional learning, and so continuing that.
So when the math comes around for that curriculum, will there be like letters, will there be a math curriculum training that all the teachers would be able to then do that professional development and get that piece?
There's not a science of math, but there would be time from those curriculum vendors to come and show us how the curriculum is laid out and work on best practices. And so we'll work with building teams in terms of what's the best implementation, what's needed in each setting for teacher success. And it'll be throughout a couple of years so they really understand how to use that program.
Anyone else? Okay.
I'll invite Gladys Aldana up to talk about the Achievement and Integration Plan.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Gladys Aldana. I am with the Nobles County Integration Collaborative. And I will be just mentioning a little bit about our mission statement at NCIC. So our mission statement is to promote student success and community acceptance of cultural differences by providing opportunities for students, families, and staff from diverse backgrounds to learn from and with one another. We work with 6 school districts: Adrian, Ellsworth, Fulda, Huron Lake, Okobina, Round Lake Brewster, and Worthington. Round Lake Brewster and Worthington are our 2 racially isolated school districts. So there are school districts that are higher in diverse population. The purpose at NCIC is to pursue racial and economic integration, increase student achievement, create equitable educational opportunities, reduce academic disparities based on students' diverse racial, ethnic, and economic backgrounds. NCIC is also fully funded through the Minnesota Department of Education Achievement and Integration Program. Our focus areas at NCIC is to develop cultural awareness and integration, close achievement gaps, support student success, provide professional development, and provide language support. I have also attached a bar graph of the different enrollment programs that we had throughout the school year 2024 to 2025. So in total, we had 1,643 enrollments. So this, I want to add that this is also like, it could be like maybe the same student that's going to like multiple programs. It's just the enrollment that we keep track for each program that we have. And as you can see, our developed culture and awareness integration has like the highest number. And then we just move on down the graph. I also included the different programs that we offer at the Nobles County Integration Collaborative. We offer programs throughout the school year. Sometimes it might just be a one-day program, a couple weeks program. And then we also offer different types of professional development and different programs throughout the summer for different grade levels. And then I am also including the diversity in the NCIC member districts. As you guys can see, Round Lake Brewster and Worthington have a higher population of enrollments of racially and or ethnically diverse students in their member districts. Moving on to the next slide, I just kind of comparing the diversity statewide compared to like maybe like Worthington. It's a significant like difference. Like, yeah, maybe like the other cities might have a higher population, but just looking down at the different diversities statewide, then maybe like going back to like how our area is, it's like a significant difference. And then I'll be reporting on, so at the collaborative, we do a 3-year plan. I'll be reporting on year 2 for the Worthington School District, school year 2024 to 2025. Goal number 1 is reducing gaps. Using the Spring FastBridge A reading assessment, the gap between second grade Hispanic and white student proficiency will be reduced by a total of 6% over 3 years, starting from a baseline gap of 31% in the spring of 2022 and being reduced to a gap of 25% by 2026. In the results from 2024 to 2025, the gap is 35.7%, so we are not quite yet at meeting our goal. And then just kind of comparing from previous years, so like in 2022, the gap was 38.3%. 2023, the gap went a little higher to 40%, and now we're back down to 35.7%. Moving on to goal number 2, culture competency. All students' access to effective and culturally knowledgeable staff will increase because the percent of paraprofessional educators who participate in culture competency training will increase from a baseline in 2023 of 2% to 50% by 2026. Our annual goal has been met. The results showed that 100% of paraprofessionals attended culture competency training in the school year 2024 to 2025. Our goal number 3, integration. Out-of-school time participants will self-report an increase in their level of comfort with initiating and maintaining positive relationships with students different from themselves, racially, ethnically, socioeconomically, from an average comfort level of 2 out of 5 in 2023 to an average comfort level of 4 out of 5 on a 5-point Likert scale. The results showed that students reported a comfort level of 4.5 out of 5, so our annual goal has been met. And then for goal number 4, equity, students' access to effective and diverse educators will increase because the school districts will hire more staff of color from a baseline of 21% in 2023 to 24% in 2026. The total number of diverse staff is 24.1%. This was a total of 164 out of 680 for the district. This includes maintenance, food service, and office staff as well. So our annual goal has been met. And then at NCIC, we do offer teacher pathway scholarships. So the number of scholarships awards were 56, and there were 26 recipients of those awards. The number of scholarship awards was 56, and there were 26 recipients of those awards over the course of 3 semesters. So the same applicant can apply for the fall, spring, and summer. And the total amount dispersed was $38,325. And then I did want to include in the last 2 years, there have been 6 graduates from teacher education programs who were NCIC Teacher Pathway Scholarship recipients that were hired, ISD 518. Several other recipients over the course of several years have become teachers in other Southwest Minnesota districts. And that is pretty much all I have. Are there any questions?
None? Guys good? Okay, thanks for your time. Okay, moving on, 5.5. We got to approve the Comprehensive Achievement and Civic Readiness Annual Report and the NCIC Annual Report. Do I have a motion to accept those reports?
So moved. Second.
Motion by Ann, seconded by Lori. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. 5, 6, I can put them together.
You want to do it? Yeah, do me.
I'm gonna move 5, 6, and 5, 7 together, being both tax abatements. There was really no questions. So do I have a motion to approve tax abatement 1 and 2?
So moved.
Motion by Aaron. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ann. And this is a roll call vote.
Ms. Studley.
Aye.
Ms. Agard.
Aye.
Ms. Shute.
Aye.
Ms. Mills.
Aye.
Mr. Bloom.
Aye.
Mr. Parrish.
Aye.
Mr. Widboom.
Aye.
Motion passes. Okay, 5.8, the ice arena location discussion.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity this evening. We've had this conversation at both board committees, but felt full board discussion was probably necessary given the impact that it could have for long-term planning with not only facilities but also sites. And so there's been lots happening in the world of ice arena discussion. Just to briefly kind of summarize one more time, the city of Worthington did put out for proposal a type of contract at risk, which basically just means that a person creating a proposal would bid the project knowing that they would have to deliver it on time and on the budget that they bid it as. Throughout that process, one local, fairly local contractor had submitted a proposal that included a brand new facility, not a remodel of current facility, which meant that the city of Worthington was going to entertain possibly the opportunity of moving a project like that forward. And so right now, all we're being asked at this moment is, as a board, is there a level of interest in having the facility on property that is currently owned by the school district? At committee, we shared 2 possible proposals. Excuse me, they were both on the west side of town, one of them just north of the Learning Center, the other one just south of the intermediate school. And so opening that up to board for greater discussion, it would be administration recommendation that we retain ownership of the land. We do a lease of that space to the city. The city would then own the facility and maintain facility as well as the grounds while that facility was operational there. We believe that there are lots of educational opportunities of having this facility on our site, both during the day as well as academic opportunities after school, knowing that one of them will be ice probably year-round, the other being more like a field house when it's not operational for ice. And so with that, I'll step back. Myself, Josh can answer any questions. Otherwise, it's for board discussion on how you'd like to proceed. Again, a decision tonight is just that you're open to the idea or you would allow a facility possibly being on our site. It doesn't kill the project. It doesn't mean that it's going to be on our property. It's just allowing the city of Worthington to pursue it as an avenue in moving forward through this planning process.
Mr. Chairman, a motion is necessary then, Mr. Heitkamp, to indicate that interest?
I would ask for an action tonight saying that you would be that there is interest and an opportunity for this to be on our site. Yes, that would be my recommendation.
And not really to actually where on our site, you know, you said there's a couple of
We
different
could
possibilities.
narrow that down. I think for tonight, it's just, is there interest as a board to have it on our property?
Mr. Chairman, if I could ask for a little more clarification, Mr. Heidkamp, on where the process is at with the city of Worthington, because they did receive proposals, and then what has happened since that point a week ago?
Yeah, I don't necessarily want to speak for Steve, but the meeting I was in prior to operational and instructional committee had taken place. At that time, because the scope of the project was looking to change, the plan originally was to maybe pull back and have a rebid. It was on city council agenda for last week. That agenda item then got pulled. So I don't know exactly where they're at, other than they're still in the fact finding. I think they really want to make sure that if they're going to go back out for proposal, that the project can actually be built for the cost that's there, and there may be some question, even though one contractor out of Sioux Falls has said they feel like they could do it. The city right now is doing a little more fact finding.
One other question, Mr. Chairman. On the proposed site the city was pursuing in the Bioscience Park, that acres were deemed not qualifying that they could use?
Correct. That's what we were told due to some work that was done with deed and how that was structured for economic development. Now, if it's not on district property, the city has identified other sites that they could possibly use. So it's not that if, again, like I said, if it's not on district property, it's not a done deal. They're just looking for avenues for best location for all parties involved, including community use.
Mr. Chairman, I think it's exciting. I mean, we've been waiting for this ball to move off of the center square for 3 years since we sat as a group looking to talk about this, and we continue to talk about this. And it's good to see private industry has stepped up and helped move the ball, and it's rolling. Where it ends, I certainly hope that we're engaged as a partner with this. And our original discussion seemed to make a lot of sense to me to utilize some of the hundreds of acres that we own. I have indicated at our committee meeting that it's so important that we find the right 6 acres to place the arena if we do choose to put it on our property, which I strongly encourage us to participate that way, because it's the placement of that will shape all of those acres for development well past this board's lifetime in the district. So I'm excited to be a host and a partner with the arena, in my opinion.
Matt, you mentioned how private industry has stepped up. What do you mean like that?
Well, that
Can you
was what
elaborate?
Mr. Heidkamp alluded to with local contractors that came with a different idea of how to build the project that was originally presented to us to be a $32 million project for 2 sheets. And they came and said, we can do it for under 20, and now we're getting closer to 16. So to me, that's why I say thank you to them for at least helping us find other doors to open to find something that could be very affordable and be a 2 building complex or 2 sheet complex.
So if it's another field house, would that be community use, or would the athletic department, say Minnesota West? I mean, that's another thing I'm wondering, if you're gonna have a field house, would Minnesota West look at entertaining, putting some money in if they could use a field house for their athletics? So would Worthington Athletics, Minnesota West Athletics potentially have the first right to use the facility instead of just letting every league from the community use it? Because they already have a field house that's kind of taken.
Yeah, I think that would be a conversation for the city, right? It'd be a city-owned facility. They would rent that space. But I think anybody that drives by JBS Field sees that parking lot is full from the moment school gets out until I drive by, and I don't stay out super late, but it's getting used. And I think there's still a definite community need for indoor space for different activities. And knowing that we'd have the ability when ice is not there to turf that down the line is exciting.
Well, and some of the discussion we've had is youth sports. I mean, is it something that they could also entertain using, try and help our youth? Sports, coordinate some use of it, and I guess if we're gonna look at it, you know, we got this ag lab going. I would be more of on the south side of the intermediate school and let the ag people still use the recently purchased acres so we can continue that and grow that program. And 70 acres is more than enough for an ag lab. So if we're gonna do this, that would be where I would wanna go, is on the south side, because it's the wetter, junkier land of the property.
Again, today's purview is just, are we interested in hosting
Correct.
said facility on district property?
You would still get an obvious opinion as to final location, just again, opening the door for the city to use it as an avenue in their planning.
Do you think that us opening that possibility to our land would increase other interested parties or invested parties in the community to increase or put into the hat? I'm thinking mostly of the county in that process.
Yeah, I don't know, and I can't speak for the county and what their involvement would be. I know Steve is really kind of the orchestrator right now of the funding mechanisms. But if our commitment stays and the city's commitment stays, Steve is fairly confident he'd be able to pull some other levers to kind of get us over, knowing that the Hockey Association has raised a pretty considerable number as well. You know, it's us getting to a point where other entities can see us almost to that finish line. It's really hard for an organization like the Hockey Association to raise $28 million, have let's just say $1 million in the bank. You're a long ways away from anybody being able to write a check and confidently see a building be built. We're now getting to a point, as Mr. Woodboom has said, is we've got enough momentum that I think other entities may want to maybe be a partner, seeing that we're so close to the finish line.
Correct me if I'm wrong, so this would be an additional commitment beyond the $5 million of land.
Of us?
Yeah.
Monetarily, it would not be an additional commitment, no.
The land.
The land has value, yes, the land does have value. And so, you know, we could express that as another partial donation, but we wouldn't sell the land. We wouldn't expect the money back from the land. We would lease it, knowing that we're going to benefit in other ways. But yes, there is monetary value to the land.
Well, and if you look at the two properties, there's probably about 190 acres to build on. I don't foresee that we're gonna use 190 acres in the next 30 years to build on, but where do they sit with the initial thought of redoing the one at the fairgrounds and adding on to that? Was that a higher bid that this is kind of catching their interest now?
I think the original interest came from the bid that came in that was brand new. That building out at the hockey arena is, what, 30 some years old. And when they start digging in, I think there is some caution of what are they going to find. And so the opportunity to at least explore someone coming in saying, hey, we could get you maybe two new for a very similar price was just at least an avenue that the city wanted to explore in greater depth.
Opinions?
Mr. Chairman, I would move the District 518 property be a potential host site for an arena complex.
Okay, we have a motion.
I'll second that motion.
Seconded by Lori. Is there any further discussion?
Go ahead, Erin.
I think that if our community is going to move forward with a new ice arena, I like the idea of it being in close proximity to our schools. But I think that we should pass this motion tonight, perhaps with a couple of conditions. I think one of the conditions should be a list that our district brainstorms about how we would want to make the facility accessible to all students in our district. examples of that could be, having Phi-Ed units during, one for the intermediate school and one for the middle school, where every kid during the school day has the opportunity to learn how to skate. They don't have to stay after school. They don't have to enroll in a sport, but they will learn how to skate in school. That's an example of how we're going to build a pipeline for athletics moving forward. And it also is something cool that our kids would be able to get to do. But this is our opportunity to put those requests in writing to make sure that they happen if we are making such a big commitment. So I think we need to be strategic about how we would want our district to be able to utilize this new resource in our community. Second of all, a $5 million commitment by our district for this facility, I believe, is a very fair and reasonable commitment for our district to make. It's a lot of money, and I don't think we should commit to a penny above $5 million. The lease that we would sign should have a value, and that value, I believe, should be part of the $5 million. That might mean that we're committing less than $5 million in cash, but there's going to be an in-kind part of the deal that includes the value of the land. I think we've already made a big commitment. I think we want other stakeholders to step up, and I would like to see our commitment be at $5 million even.
So tonight is just basically to get a motion that we're interested in our property, correct? So I get your point, Aaron, and I agree with you, but do we need to include that into the motion tonight? We're just giving them the forward that we're okay with looking at our property, correct?
Correct.
I think the conditions could come later.
I was gonna say, that's what I'm asking, we do the condition, like, you know what I mean, a condition motion down the road? But if you guys aren't okay, we're gonna have to Matt's gonna have to add it to his motion, or we're gonna have to amend the motion.
I think because we're just looking at the potential use of district property, which was the motion that was put forward, I would be in favor of, yes, Aaron, I agree with you 100%, but as Adam said, putting that off until a decision is made about, yes, we are really interested in a piece of your property. Okay, great, but now here are the conditions.
Because they have to decide if they're even gonna do this.
Correct.
And then that's when our conditions.
Correct.
Is that all right, Aaron?
That's fine with me.
Because it's gonna come back to operations committee anyways, right?
Correct.
And then
On a
at that
final
point-
site.
I just want,
No, I hear
I
it.
don't want our district to miss the opportunity to be very clear about how we want to be able to ensure that our kids have access to this resource.
And I agree.
And we have to have our staff and coaches involved in those discussions. I mean, it's easy for us to start listing things that we want to accomplish, but if they're not doable and achievable without talking to our staff that actually have to follow through on those, I mean, I'm with you, but to me, it has to have purpose behind our desires.
Yeah.
Do we need to be respectful in saying that that we are thinking about conditions? I'm not a yes or no, I'm just saying if we are thinking about conditions, is that going to deter their decision-making, and therefore does that need to be disclosed?
I think that's something Joel can share with Steve, that we're okay with this. We made the motion that you can look at our property. If we go further and this is what you choose, there is gonna be conditions.
Yeah, I just want to make sure we're not turning around.
Mr. Chairman, I don't like using the word conditions. I mean, then it sounds like we're then threatening that if you don't do it like this, we're going to go walk away. I mean, I want us to be a collaborative partner in this. And obviously, we have to look out for the students of our district, the dollars of our district taxpayers. But it has to be with a collaborative mindset. And I don't like the idea of we're threatening with the word condition or we're not going to play ball.
I can't imagine that the city is thinking anything different, because who else is going to use it during the school day? The students of our district. It's right here within the city of Worthington. I mean,
Well, even after school, and I think what Aaron is driving home and what's kind of what I'm driving home too is not only during the school day, but after school, you have practices for all these sports. I would rather see that our kids get first use of that field house than another soccer league in town, because they've got another field house.
Well, and I would extend it even into the summer. What about summer programs?
And I'm not saying
For our
they couldn't
kids.
rent it, I think, and it's maybe not the conditions, it's just we're gonna have some asks of what we would like to see, and I don't know.
If I may, just to share one last piece, and as the project sits right now, there's still a funding shortfall of about $1 million. And so if we take, any money that we take off the table for value of the land just puts that shortfall greater. I just want to make sure the board knows that that's where the project's at.
What'd the district buy that for? Was it 30? So if you take 6 acres, it's another 180 to 200,000 we're basically donating. So, we have a motion and a second. Motion by Matt, seconded by Lori, to give the city an okay that we're interested in using our property. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Okay, 5.9, approve an employee's leave of absence.
We have an employee that has been off on paid leave since the start of the school year due to a medical condition in the family. And she has exhausted her paid leave and is requesting unpaid for the remainder of the school year. The recommendation from the committee was to approve the request.
Do I have a motion to approve the leave of absence?
so moved.
Motion by Ann, do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Matt. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Okay, 5.10, approve the second reading of policy 722, public data and data subject requests.
This is a policy that we reviewed at last month's board meeting. It's coming back, even though there wasn't any suggested changes or discussion, because MSBA now has come with an amendment. And just for awareness, MSBA is now going to do their updates to board policy multiple times throughout the year, rather than the one big chunk that we've normally gotten in July. And so to make it a little more manageable throughout the year, they're going to break those apart. And so now we're into that cycle. And so this was one of those policies. There's one additional paragraph, if you had a chance to review, but essentially it's a protection for the school district around if a specific person makes a request for data, and we collect all of that data for them and then inform them that that data is ready, and they never come review it or they never come pick it up, that we are not obligated to then fulfill subsequent requests for that person until they come and gather the first one. And so it's a protection of the district. And so that is now new language that was not presented in the first reading. And so we're bringing it back for the second one. Other than that, the policy remains unchanged from our first reading, sorry.
Okay, do I have a motion for policy 7?
It'll come for a
that's right,
third read.
third
It'll
reading,
come
yeah,
for a third read.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. 5.11, approve a school resource officer agreement.
All right, as we're moving through the year, Mr. Noble and I met with Officer Peel from the Worthington Police Department, and had recognized that it had not come for a while to be updated, and so just bringing it back to the forefront. But we have updated the current school resource officer contract. I'll highlight just a few things that were there. We updated the dates. It was a few years outdated since the last time it was signed. If you go to the third page, if you have it in front of you or have read it, we included that DARE is now at the intermediate school, updating it, that new building is there. We did some peer mediation addition from the middle school. And then we also included that the school resource officers will be active members of our Emergency Preparation Advisory Committee, otherwise known as EPAC. That's a new committee that we have now started. Mr. Noble chairs that group, but we have a large contingency of community partners that are now collaborating with us on a monthly, making sure that our buildings are as up to date in the safety procedures as possible. And so that's been a huge benefit already that we've seen. And so we wanted to make sure that we were both on the same page regarding that partnership. Just for board clarity, on the cost to the district, we pay 60% of 9 months of each officer's salary. So if that makes sense, we take 9 months of the school year and then we pay 60% of that salary, knowing that they are doing other police work at other times during the school year. So we are recommending approval so that we can update that contract and that partnership with the police department.
Move to approve the school resource officer agreement.
Motion by Matt,
Second.
seconded by Eric. Is there any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Adam, I don't think the operations committee got a copy of this agreement to review.
We did not.
We didn't have it at the time, so, but I can send it out if you want.
Yes, please. I'd like to read it. Thank you.
Chairman Bloom, on the motion for the policy 5.10, I don't think you guys had a motion or a second. You just approved it as all, and Lisa needs a motion and a.
For which one?
You need a motion for the
510,
second
the
reading.
policy, yeah.
We do need a motion for approval. We're not going to bring it for a third read.
Well, we can, but we
Well,
usually do for
we don't-
first and second
We
and
don't need it.
final.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead then. That's my fault.
Dang it, Joel.
That's okay.
Do I have a motion for policy 722?
So moved.
Motion by Ann,
Second.
seconded by Lori. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Are you happy, Lisa? Okay, on to reports.
I have an extensive list of all the great things that have happened throughout the district in the last month, so please sit back and enjoy. I'm going to try to do them in somewhat chronological order, but they might be just a little bit. But going back all the way to just before our last board meeting, wanted to give a shout out to our robotics teams. They traveled down to Des Moines, participated in the Clash in the Corn preseason event. During the event, the team managed to be selected for an alliance with other robotics, qualified for the finals, and won the entire competition. And so that's a really big deal to that group. We had a family STEAM quest at the intermediate school. Got to enjoy that fun event. I wanted to say a shout out and thank you to the staff who coordinated that fun and educational night of science, engineering, plant science, and hands-on activities. Myself and a small team of folks at the district office completed our first ever Trojan Morning meetup. We had a small handful of community members that engaged with us, and we're looking to continue to look at times that best meet our community's need to continue to grow that opportunity. I wanted to give a shout out and congratulations to the Worthington Middle School students who received their Good News Calls of the Day and the Trojan Pride Awards. We also have a big Renaissance event happening on Friday. Our girls' WHS soccer team enjoyed a special experience attending the Minnesota United FC playoff game and assisting on the field by holding banners. What a great and inspirational event for them. This year, the District 518 Ag Lab produced a strong and bountiful harvest of corn and soybeans thanks to timely rains and favorable weather. Students from the middle school, the high school, Minnesota West continue to gain valuable hands-on agricultural experience. Our congratulations to Lily Brown for being named to the Big South All-Conference Honorable Mention tennis team. Congratulations to Pei Po for being named All Big South Conference Girls Soccer. Congratulations to Diego Alvarado, Danny Benegas, and Juan Sandoval for being named to the All Big South Conference team for boys soccer. And then also congratulations to Saul Galvez and Andy Guzman, who earned honorable mention on that same team. Big shout out and congratulations to the WHS FFA Ag Communications team for competing at the national convention, placing 8th out of 40 teams. They represented Worthington well. Our K-Kids at the intermediate school, best of luck to the newly elected kids, Shaylee Bardson, Adeline Hine, Brecklin Wellers, and Catherine Standifer. The 2025 MCEA Community Educator Award of Excellence goes to Audrey Stafford, a member of our District 518 Community Education team. Special recognition to the Trojan Volleyball team. Congratulations to Nadia Campana for being named All Big South Conference for that team. I wanted to give a huge shout out overall for all of the Veterans Day programs that happened in the buildings. I got to see many of them. I got to see many veterans that went to multiple events, and we did such a nice job at all sites, and it really meant a lot to our community. And then lastly, shout out to Prairie Elementary and the Discovery Room. The MREA Innovation Program Award went to our team here for the great work that happened there. And Principal Heidi Meyer and a team of folks were able to obtain that award just this last week. So lots happening, lots of great things happening in and throughout the entire district and community.
I could have done that. You good now?
I'm good.
Okay, on to instructional committee. Is there anything that you guys would like to add?
No, everything's been covered on the agenda tonight.
Okay, operations?
All covered, I believe.
Any other reports?
Mr. Chairman, I would like to also extend a congratulations to all of our music students, the fall choir concerts, the indoor marching band, and the fall orchestra concerts were all wonderful and greatly attended, as was the fall play. And I think there were many families who enjoyed having a family-friendly performance, and it was great. And so thank you to all of those teachers who go above and beyond.
Okay, anything else? Okay, other business. How do we proceed? We're going to be going into closed session.
Yeah.
So we're going to convene into a separate room.
Yep, we're going to go out and around the corner.